Hello and welcome to SGPN's The Daily Dog. I'm your host, Britton Hess. I'm here with my favorite Underdog Fantasy Pick'em plays for Thursday, June 19th, 2025. I say it all the time, but my God, time flies by when you're making Underdog entries every single day. But here we are, June 19th. If you're new to Underdog Fantasy, checking out the show for the first time, join us by hitting the subscribe button. Make sure you're here every day. You can subscribe on YouTube, wherever your podcast and everything else. And also, if you're new to Underdog, sign up with the promo code DailyDog, DAILYDOG at UnderdogFantasy.com or on the Underdog Fantasy app to get a 50% deposit match bonus worth up to $1,000. Literally the best deposit match bonus out there. So take advantage of it if you've not done so yet. More subscribers is what I'm working on, though, right now. We got to keep those numbers up. So there are actually there is a portion of viewers that watch YouTube consistently that aren't subscribed. So you should probably do that. And the podcast listens as well. We need more subscribers on there. So take advantage of the ease of modern podcasting software and hit subscribe. All right, let's get into it. I got to say today, I at the beginning of this week, I talked about the need for some more sports to get into on a daily basis or weekly basis with NBA and NHL wrapping up. NBA obviously could be done after this evening. NHL is already done. Shout out to the Panthers. That was a dominant performance a couple days ago. But so I have been doing WNBA. I'm 1-1 on the year in WNBA. And I added PGA today as well. So we got something to sweat all weekend long. So let's get into it here, though. We'll start with MLB like we always do. This is what I'm most comfortable doing. And also, I'll say yesterday, the weather was an absolute terror. I had 7 entries get canceled yesterday. So, hopefully the weather cooperates a little bit better today in Major League Baseball. But MLB entry number 1, starting bright and early, about noon Eastern. Byron Buxton, higher than 9.5 fantasy points against the Reds. Byron Buxton against Nick Martinez. I really like this matchup. Big Bucks is one of our favorite players on this show. Just a really underrated player. If he had his health his whole career, man, he'd probably be a Hall of Famer. So Byron Buxton, higher than 9.5 fantasy points. Obviously, a home run gets it done, but he's also a guy who can score a lot, get a lot of RBIs, steal bases, can help us in many, many ways, even if he isn't getting hits. That's important. If he gets walked and gets a steal, we are right on track. So, we can make things happen with higher than 9.5 fantasy points with Byron Buxton against Nick Martinez. Then with Paul Goldschmidt, higher than 8.5 fantasy points. He went 0 for yesterday. He gets Tyler Anderson here today. He's hit Tyler Anderson well in the past. And also, I don't expect Goldie to be a multi-game slump here when it's going to be beautiful hitting weather at Yankee Stadium. Tyler Anderson, I think, is an underrated pitcher, but I still think Goldie is going to have higher than 8.5 fantasy points here. That's a 3x multiplier with fantasy points over for Byron Buxton and Paul Goldschmidt. MLB entry number 2, we're going Hunter Goodman, higher than 1.5 total bases. Going to be beautiful hitting weather at National Park. At least that is what the early reports say. Goodman is just straight good. He had the day off yesterday, so let's get back in the grind. Goodman, higher than 1.5 total bases here. Pairing that with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., higher than 0.5 RBIs in this pretty eventful series we've seen with the D-backs taking on the Blue Jays up there in Toronto. Vladdy, I think he's going to get an RBI here, so 3.9x on that one. Nice multiplier. MLB entry number 3, we are going to go with Corey Seager, higher than 7.5 fantasy points against the Royals. And Michael Wacha, again, another guy he's seen plenty. Seager is another one of those guys who can get the sack flies. He can get RBIs he can get fantasy points without hits. He gets plenty of hits, but some people, it's like, if they're batting late in the order, if they don't get, a couple hits or if they don't get driven in, they're not going to get their fantasy points. Seager is a guy that knows how to have good plate approaches and find a way to get on base, get fantasy points with the walks, get fantasy points with our sack flies and everything else. So give me Corey Seager higher than 7.5 fantasy points. And then Trea Turner higher than 1.5 total bases against Edward Cabrera. I think Trea has unlocked something in the last couple of days. I think he's been playing very well. I think that streak continues down in Miami. 3.18x multiplier on that one. MLB entry number 4, Jung Lee, higher than 6.5 fantasy points. I actually don't understand why it's so low. Against Gavin Williams. It's allegedly going to be a tough hitting environment in San Francisco, but Jung Lee isn't a guy who relies on the ball going out of the park. I like Jung Lee here. Obviously, he can steal bases as well. You like to see that when you're playing fantasy points over. And pair that with Francisco Lindor, higher than 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Lindor, not a great day yesterday in Sale. Strider, fake ace. He got back on track, but it was against the Rockies last game. It's going to be a different animal with Francisco Lindor playing that leadoff spot. So 3x multiplier on Jung Ho Lee higher than 6.5 fantasy points. Francisco Lindor higher than 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Let's get into these pitcher entries. Chris Paddack plus Nick Martinez higher than 0.5 first inning runs allowed. First game of the day. Yes, run first inning with these two pitchers that I would call mid-minus. Mid-minus, they're not good. There's good power in the top of these lineups. It's good hitting weather for the ball getting over the fence, so I really like this one to get a first inning run allowed. Probably a homer, but hey, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Then I'm going to take Chase Dollander and Trevor Williams in that Colorado against Nationals game, higher than 0.5 first inning runs allowed, because I think that, again, both these lineups have some pop at the top, and I don't think these pitchers are really the type of guys that are going to be locking it down long. Yesterday, the game went, like 5 innings between these two teams without a run scored, but I think that the delay really threw off just the flow of that one. So 3x multiplier on this one. Pitchers entry number 2, Christopher Sanchez and Edward Cabrera, lower than 0.5 first inning runs allowed. Sanchez, I think, is pretty underrated. Lefty. The lefties keep some of these bats out of the order for the Marlins. They have a lot of righties, they do, but Jesus Sanchez, he's a dog. And he is not probably going to start against a lefty. And then he's with Edward Cabrera. Again, Edward Cabrera is good in short spurts, but by the time he gets to the 4th inning, he's in trouble. I think he can get out of the first, though. Then I'm taking Gavin Williams, Logan Webb, higher than 0.5 first inning runs allowed. We're going contrarian here and getting a nice multiplier. Webb has been amazing. He's not going to be amazing every inning, every first inning. And Gavin Williams is very overrated, in my opinion. So 3.02x multiplier on that one. All right, let's talk about the NBA Finals. This potentially is the last game of this NBA year, NBA season, whatever you want to say. Yesterday, I gave out Miles Turner higher than 13.5 points, Chet Holmgren lower than 15.5 points. I am going to stick with that here. Nothing has changed. Same multiplier, 3x, just a flat one. I think Turner has to step up with Halliburton being injured. And I think Holmgren lower than 15.5 points. I think that, he had an outlier game where he crushed this number, but I don't think that's going to be a thing here. Jay Will and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander are doing enough for this team. I don't think they need Chet to have a big game offensively. 3x multiplier on that one. The second NBA entry, the one that's added for today, is Tyrese Halliburton lower than 13.5 points. He's listed as having a strained calf in a game time decision. He's going to probably try to go. It's the NBA Finals elimination game. Strained calf is not an injury that you just recover from in 2 days. I think that if he plays, he's going to get hurt again and go out, or he's going to be very, very limited. So lower than 13.5 points for Tyrese Halliburton, taking a little shot with there, because if all of a sudden he does have, maybe the strained calf was exaggerated and it's all mind games, and maybe he'll crush this number, but I don't think so. It didn't look like it. And then Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, higher than 9.5 free throws made. 3 of the games in this series so far, 3 out of 5 games he's had higher than 9.5 free throws. He gets to the line double digits every single game, so higher than 9.5 free throws made, 3.39x multiplier. WNBA entry number 1, going back to some of our favorites, Caitlin Clark, higher than 3.5 3-pointers made, especially after that controversial game last time out. She is going to be wanting to send a message here. Then I'm taking Sabrina Ionescu higher than 19.5 points. She's had 34 points in her last 2 games. She's had 24, 34, 34 in her last 3 games. Riding the hot hand, 3.36x multiplier on that one. Tennis entry number 1, Jannik Sinner, lower than 9.5 games lost against Alexander Bublik. Bublik is good on grass, but Jannik is a different animal. Riley Opelka, lower than 0.5 sets lost. He is a souped up version of his opponent, who is Arthur Rinderknecht here. I don't think Rinderknecht has what it takes to take out Big Riley, so 4.29x. Tennis number 2, Amanda Anisimova, lower than 0.5 sets lost. I really like how she's been playing on grass. I think that she's going to roll through this one. Clara Towson, lower than 0.5 sets lost. Again, I think that her serve is such a weapon on grass, so she should roll through as well. That's a 3.27x multiplier. All right, we did a golf entry today, first one ever on this show, I think. I looked at vsin.com/golf, read Wes Reynolds' article to get acquainted with how things are rolling at the Travelers. Just one entry here. It's for the full tournament, so we got to lock in. Reading Wes's article, it's not really sexy to say, Scotty Scheffler is going to win, but in basically every stat that matters for golf handicappers, Scotty Scheffler is on the leaderboard. I'm taking him tourney finishing position better than 5.5, so he's got to be finished top 5. I think he can definitely do that. He can win this tournament. And then a longer shot, Tom Hoge, he popped in some important metrics on Wes's model. I actually liked the odds we're getting here for him to be top 20, so finishing position better than 20.5. Scheffler top 5, Tom Hoge top 20. 3.46x multiplier. Combo entry number one. This is the longa. This is the lotto, as we say, the lotto or the combo. We're going to go with Miles Turner higher than 1.5 3-pointers made. We know that Miles Turner needs to take 3-pointers here with Halliburton being banged up. Sean Burke higher than 3.5 earned runs allowed in the first game of this doubleheader with the White Sox and the Cardinals. Cardinals should hit Burke well. Jacob Wilson higher than 1.5 runs scored. I don't think that the pitching is going to be that good for the Astros here, and I think that the weather is going to allow Wilson to get on base and to score some runs. So 34.39x multiplier, 17.19x if it goes 3-3 on the flex, 5.51 if it goes 2 out of 3 on the flex. Not bad at all. Dong squad number one, Austin Wells higher than 0.5 home runs. James Wood higher than 0.5 home runs. Spencer Torkelson higher than 0.5 home runs. 58.94x or 29.47x if it goes 3 for 3 on the flex. 4.88x if it goes 2 out of 3 on the flex. Dong squad number two, Paul Goldschmidt higher than 0.5 home runs. Jordan Beck higher than 0.5 home runs. Teoscar Hernandez higher than 0.5 home runs. 66.9x. Flex it, 33.45 if it goes 3 for 3, 5.31 if it goes 2 out of 3. Let's hit a Dong squad today. All right, that's all I got for you today. Good luck on your bets. Let's make some money.